Why no one should be watching these new NASCAR channels that popped up out of nowhere. A lot of us are all falling for them. I admit I fell for them too. I started watching them, and as I'm watching them, I noticed that all kinds of little errors are happening. And I thought they were just little errors. But then I saw a video from another fellow content creator on a YouTube channel, Jet, and he pointed out that these guys aren't NASCAR followers. They are professional guys that come into different categories, start blasting all kinds of videos all over the place, and they're getting all kinds of views from people. And all it does is just get their rating up, and they're just coming in to try and take the money from actual content creators. In the meantime, they don't even care about NASCAR at all. That's why all these little mistakes they do, it's because they're not fans. They're just trying to come in and get the money and the views up. You have to understand how people get paid on YouTube. The people on YouTube get paid from how many views each of these videos all get. And these content creators, they can be a little boring because they're just showing themselves. And yeah, I don't really care to see them either. And these new guys are coming in and they're just blasting videos, going through and then just doing talking. They're probably reading magazine articles from actual NASCAR writers and fans, and they're blasting it up there, and they have no idea what it actually means. Look at this video here for Kyle Busch. As soon as I hit play, the first thing that pops up is he says, Kyle Busch is getting revenge driving for Richard Childress 2023. They don't even know that he's going to drive for Richard Childress in 2023. They think Richard Childress is called Richard Childress Racing 2023. So that, I mean, it took 2 seconds for it to jump out at me to say, God, these guys are buffoons. And I admit I fell for them too. You know, I'll show you here in a bit. They all got the red lines that says I watched the videos. I did. I watched them. I'm trying to get all you guys to stop watching. These are not fans. They don't want no part in that. They probably have never watched a car race in their life. They're just trying to be the YouTube sleuths that come in, take all the views, and all of a sudden get paid all the money. They do this on other channels too. I watched this program on architecture, and I watched the program, and then, you know, the YouTube algorithm feeds you the next one. I watched it. Then the program that came up behind it was a guy talking. That guy literally stole his entire program that a content creator made on YouTube, did all the work, all the editing, all the flow, and his whole conversation. This guy then went, dubbed out that guy's voice, and just put his own voice over top of it, saying the exact same thing, all the work the actual content creator did. He muffled him out, reset it under his own voice, and again, just like they're doing here in NASCAR, he went and got 100,000 views. That original content creator had less than 20,000. So he's getting paid for this other guy's work. It's not right. It's not good. If we don't squash it now, they're going to stick around. I'll flat out say the content creators have to do a better job so you're more intrigued and will watch them. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm hopefully getting better at it. But don't feed into what these guys are doing. They come in, they just take people's work and make it their own, and so they might change one word or one sentence. YouTube doesn't actually care. They're just going to let whoever gets the views get the views. So it's up to the fans to stop watching. Don't watch people that aren't fans. Don't feed them any money. The more money they get, the more they're going to stick around. Give it to the guys that actually care about the sport. Give them your views, your time. If you're a real fan, that's the way you want to work it. Let's slide over here to this next video. I mean, every video they post has problems. The further you get into the video, the more I'll be able to tell you about it. But just right off here at the title shows Kyle Busch saying, "That's my number," and they're acting like that's why Joe Gibbs isn't going to run the 18. For once, Joe Gibbs used his head a little bit, and he's going to give his grandchild an actual identity, give him his own number, one that hasn't been used. Because let's face it, every driver that drives for Joe Gibbs, they don't stay unique in themselves. They're a Joe Gibbs driver. All their numbers use the exact same font, and they just get brought into the conglomerate. And they're trying to say, like, Kyle Busch had any kind of voice to say, "Don't run the 18. That's mine." No. They don't give a flying F what Kyle thinks anymore. Kyle doesn't drive for them anymore. Joe Gibbs did this on his own, not a thought about Kyle. He was actually thinking of his grandchild, and it's going to be one of the best marketing moves he could have done, because it will give him his own identity. I mean, that's what I say the problem is with the 43 car and the 3 car. The other day, I was at the racetrack, and I yelled out to somebody. They had the big 3 in the back window of their truck, and I yelled, "Earnhardt!" And the guy heard me, and he looked over, and he said, "That's not Earnhardt, that's Austin Dillon." And I'm looking at him like, God, Dillon's been in that car for a decade now, and I am never going to associate him with that 3 car. And I thought to myself, wow, Childress is actually doing a bad thing for his grandchild. He will never be associated with the number 3 in that calligraphy. If Childress would change it, he's had different calligraphy 3s in his car's existence. He needs to change that 3 so that his grandchild can get his own identity. I mean, I've done that before with other people with the 3, and they're all like, "Earnhardt too." This is the first time anybody's ever said, "That's Austin Dillon." He is never going to be associated with it. He will never have his own identity. And anybody that gets in his car will have the same problem. And just think back to all the drivers that have been in the 43. Do you ever associate them with the 43 when they were even in it, or let alone after it? Nah, it was his time in the 43, but then they got out of it. So Petty is actually hurting any of the drivers that get in his car. They never really are able to take on an identity. They are drivers in the 43. Especially since they go through them every couple of years. They really don't keep anybody for over 5 years. I guess Bubba Wallace was the longest driver they had in that circumstance. Let's scroll over here a little bit further. We'll see. Look, Gibbs here. "I'm done with him." You're so done with him that you just gave him a contract in the Cup Series? These guys have no idea what the hell they're talking about. They're trying to ride the coattails of actual writers and stuff, and they just get everything wrong. They prove it over and over. We have to stop giving them views. If we stop giving them views, they'll stop doing it. But as long as they keep getting views, and then a check comes in from YouTube, they're going to stick around. We got to stop it. There are far more informed people on here that I really do recommend. Go watch Bologna Burger. Go watch Eric Estep. These guys all watch racing. They love racing. You want to be part of them. They're no good. Let's go check out some of the other one. Alright, so I just brought up this page. This is another one. They have no idea what they're talking about. Right here, Tony Stewart to Gene Haas. It's over. No, it's not. They have a great partnership. It is going on just fine. They just have a tiff over who should be in the 41 car. They are staying together. This team will be here in 20 years. I mean, Tony's only in his 50s, so he'll be an old man. Gene Haas will die off at some point. Maybe he will go ahead and get somebody he can bring up, a current driver. Because Tony's been out of the car himself now for, a decade? Maybe he'll link up with a younger driver when it's his by himself. But there is no dissent. Tony is not leaving. Tony's not breaking off. They're just having a little spat that you're hearing about it and the thing. Because Tony does that. Tony mouths off a little bit. But they're not going nowhere. It's not over. It is not over. It ain't going nowhere. And right next to it, we have Coach Gibbs looking at his grandchild going, bad news. I haven't watched this video, so I don't know what he's going to say. But I can tell you it's wrong. What's the bad news that Gibbs is going to actually say to his grandchild? There ain't a goddamn thing he's going to say to his grandchild. He's trying to work on him to be better at being liked. But whatever these guys are going to say, the bad news, Gibbs is going to close down. The presence of Ty Gibbs, everything's wrong. Gibbs is losing. Yeah, who knows where they're going to go with it? But I refuse to watch him anymore. I refuse to watch them. I hope you refuse to watch them. They're no good. Let's scroll down to the next one. We're going to skip over to Bubba Wallace for now. Look at this. Richard Childress and Kyle Busch. This is going to be one of the most promising stories coming up in the new year, 2023. There is nothing wrong. He is having no regrets. Their business partnership is starting. They're fresh. They're alive. He's getting in the car. They're getting a seat fitted for him. They're ready. They're anticipating. Childress had Dale Earnhardt driving for him for the longest time. And Earnhardt could be a handful with some of the stuff he did on the track. Many a times Earnhardt had to leave with extra security from a track because of his own antics. He is completely used to this kind of thing. But this is even before they got... If they were willing to put whatever that fight skirmish that they had 15 years ago behind them, you better believe they're ready to go racing. Whatever this is trying to claim is a huge problem for Childress and Coppa, it doesn't exist. There is no problem. This is probably the best any business relationship is at the start before you've ever gone racing. You're happy. You want to be there. The communication is best. Everybody's one. Now, once they get in the cars and they hear how people work or they get along or don't get along, that's when problems can occur. But right now, they're both on top of the world. I got me Kyle fucking Busch, and I got Richard Childress as an owner. Childress knows how to sit there and deal with hype and circumstance going on. Of course, I think Kyle is going to calm down. I mean, he's starting to become a happy family man. When he had his boy Braxton, you definitely saw him calm down a tear. But now that he's got a baby girl, that just melts all daddy's hearts. And he's got that, so I really don't see Kyle being the handful he's been for Gibbs all this time. Alright, let's move down to something else. So as I come along and scroll across the bottom here, and I'm looking at the headlines, these headlines could actually be real. And since you can see I haven't watched these videos, I can't really say exactly what they said. But there could be, there usually is an essence of truth when they still get all kinds of small facts wrong. Like, you ever hear in The Voice when they do these videos, how they say and mess up some of the words? The Pocono Raceway, it was Pocono, Raschastin, the Clint Boyer. I heard that voice is actually some kind of robotic voice that you can pay money to have it spew your information out. Like, it's not even the people making the content. It's some kind of voice service that you can pay to use to do the voiceovers. That's why they mess up all these little words. I mean, Pocono, is that a hard word to say unless it's a robotic voice or something of that? That's what they use. They won't even identify themselves, because if they identify themselves, you would hear the very same voice over all kinds of different topics, always stealing original content from other people. Now, they're not quite stealing original content here the way they do it. Other people's of just dubbing out their voice and dubbing their voice in. This is kind of making their own videos, but all they're doing is just playing clips of NASCAR. If that's what you guys want, that's what I'm going to set up too. I thought I would keep it to the content I'm working on, but they're just They just find clips and play it on. I mean, literally look at the clip you're looking at and see if it has any relevancy to the topic they're attempting to talk about. The topics they usually get wrong. So all these videos here, there could be something, Harvick did have a problem with NASCAR. 10 things about Bubba. Okay, fine, 10 things. I can't really say that's wrong. It's just an information video. But all these things could have happened. You can see I have not watched these. Like I said, it was early on. I fell for them too. But I do not watch these videos anymore. It's just what I'm saying. Don't watch them. So if you can, go watch some of these NASCAR creators that actually do care for the sport. Actually do want to watch it. Go watch Black Flags Matter. Go watch The Iceberg. Stay here. I'm going to be trying to bring you fresh content at least once a week. There's all kinds of things going on in the off seasons. We'll keep you up to date at the best knowledge of what's happening and what's going on, and about other phony websites out there that are trying to cash in. Stick around. We got a lot more to go.